Welcome to Box Talks with Bulu. My name is Paul Jarrett. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bulu. And with me I have
Stephanie Jarrett, and I'm also a co-founder.
And fill in nifty tagline. Actually, if you have a tagline or a way to intro it,
Please help us.
Please help us. Yeah, just join and watch, and we'll put it down there.
So who's on the show today?
Today we have Matthew Arevalo, not the CEO. I made that mistake in the show.
Yes, he is not.
He is the I forget his title, but he's the co-founder of Pinfinity. It's pins.ar. He also had pins.ar/join. I'm not even going to attempt to explain the product. It is, I would say, a subscription product that layers in some AR, but it's kind of like you're getting a physical item and there's a digital experience, working with big, sexy brands. And I love that we're talking to people from LA and brands like Marvel and Disney and all these cool brands. And then we're talking to people in Nebraska that are like, I actually have to figure out a way to pack this and get it done. So all sorts of a range of different episodes. Stephanie, what stuck out to you about when we did talk to Matthew?
Well, for me, Matthew, is his passion for creating a really, really good experience, and not just an experience for his subscribers, whether it's for his box from his days with Loot Crate, or now with his subscription for Pinfinity, even just creating a good experience for everyone around him, from his team to his board to even just his family, and how that all is important to him. And how that bleeds over into what he's doing with his subscriptions and with augmented reality, I thought was really interesting. Yeah,
Matthew's a super good dude. He's somebody that I've looked up to for quite a while in the industry. And man, he's been there from day one, whether it's Subta or whether it's Loot Crate or Pinfinity. And man, he's doing some really cool stuff. He's in a really good spot, and excited to watch where he goes. And I think we should take him up on, trying to get him on the podcast some more. What do you think?
Agreed.
Yeah, let's do that.
There's a lot we could cover.
Well, let's get into the episode, and then I guess we'll talk after.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Let's go. All right. It is Paul Jarrett and
Stephanie Jarrett.
We are on an official live stream on our second ever Bulu podcast live stream. We are figuring it out in real time. So take notes, everybody, so you can do this as well.
So you know what not to do.
We want to thank our sponsor, Trojan Condoms. That's a joke. We don't have a sponsor.
Don't have sponsors.
But we do have something better. We have Matthew, founder of Loot Crate, and the new company that he launched. I want him to go ahead and tell us all about that. And he's got so much subscription box experience. I've learned a ton from him.
He's going to put us to shame.
Yeah. Licensing, launching, you name it. This guy kind of knows a little bit of everything. So I can't wait to get this started. I know he's a busy dude, so I'm super grateful that he took his time out of his day. And he can tell us all about what he's launching. So let's go ahead and click the magic air button and bring him on. Matthew, how you doing, man?
Hello. Hi.
Thank you for your patience. We're still, you're on podcast number 2, and we have new live stream equipment and all of that fun stuff. As you know, I'm Paul Jarrett. For everybody out there watching, this is our co-founder. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm Stephanie Jarrett. Matthew, I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting, so it's good to meet you.
It blew me away. She's like, wait, have you met Matthew? I was like, yeah. I read him on Slack all day. I'm like, I feel like it's like I know you so well because of your involvement in the community and through Subta and everything else you do. So I guess, we're going to do all the magic of editing after this and live streaming / turning into a podcast, as you know, because you're involved with so many different things. It's a little tricky, but if you're cool with it, I would love for you just to go ahead and do the typical, here's who I am, here's what I do. We definitely want to know about your Loot Crate experience. And then I am super excited to learn about your new, I don't want to give any spoilers, so kind of your new projects that you're working on. So go ahead and tell us kind of who you are, what you do, and your background. And a lot of our listeners are subscription box listeners. So
okay. Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur for some time. I previously kind of came right out of 17, 18 years old and started work in the IT industry. Obviously just to give a little bit of background on my age, I'm 41. So around that time was probably like 98, 99-ish. A lot was going on, a lot of digital transformation, a lot of companies trying to figure out how to do community development and brand development and everything. But a lot of my work was mostly as a technologist. And I worked at Apple for a little while. I worked at Microsoft. I even did some work in LA running an Apple official retail and support business, running their service department, which really kind of gave me a lot of my experience in working directly with creative entertainment types and people. So we'd have people coming in at that time, bringing in all their animation equipment and their Mac Pros and their laptops and everything. And so I was able to kind of continue my 20-year network of people in LA of different types of verticals. I then went from there to doing some of my own consulting. So I would have different companies around the LA area, a little bit of travel on the West Coast, really helping them with special projects and things that they needed. I then decided that because I had the experience of understanding how these technical platforms worked and understood what brands were trying to do, maybe I should kind of ease off a little bit because I was never really a developer or an engineer. Maybe I should ease up a little bit on the technology consulting side and really kind of dive into how these companies can make the transition from an old way of doing things to the way of doing things now, and then the way of they should and could do them in the future. So to quickly wrap that up, I then did that for a number of years. And then I met my co-founder of my last business at a hackathon. And in that weekend, we created the business, set everything up, all the recharging stuff through Chargeify at the time, pieced together a website. And 30 days from then, we actually shipped our first box. So there was no operating agreement, let's set up bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. It was very, very kind of like off the cuff. And we made a commitment. I told all these people that I knew, this is the next thing I'm doing. This is something I'm really interested in. So we couldn't just say sorry and like refund. It was only like a few $1,000s, but we couldn't just say sorry. This was just a whole test. And we actually started shipping. And then 3 years from then, we had done $100 million in revenue. And we became the fastest growing private company in North America. And we kind of took over that world of pop culture subscription boxes at the time. The other things had existed, but we kind of paved the way for this idea that top IP and entertainment brands can have an audience through a subscription community environment. And the three kind of core things that we launched with was this ability to be included in an ever-growing and active community of people like you, non-judgmental. You don't need to be a super geek if you just like these things. And we also had the benefit of the Avengers had come out. And so everyone was starting to wear their fandom on their sleeve and everything. And so we kind of were at that right crossroads where people were starting to, you didn't have to try and hunt and find for licensed stuff. More and more manufacturers are making them. So fast forward to a number of product launches and releases that we did. And got to meet a lot of my heroes in the pop culture space: Stan Lee, Kevin Smith, and I'm not one of those people. I'm not name dropping. I'm just saying it was just the same way somebody who might get into the sports industry would be like enamored at like, oh, I met Vin Scully or something. Like it was just cool to be able to see, and they saw what we were doing was authentic, which was allowed us to kind of get in the door there. And then just lastly, to wrap up as an intro, after that, last year around August or so, Hannah and I, my wife, took our company Guile Ventures and turned it into a venture studio. I consulted for 2 months looking for interesting projects in the D2C and subscription space. And that's where we found our primary portfolio company right now. We have a few of them, but the one that we're focusing on right now is our first owned and operated subscription box and service.
So I want to make sure that folks know that are listening that was Loot Crate was your first venture. Was it named that? I have so many questions, but that I want to make sure we get our names and everything correct. Was that what you and your partner launched from that startup day or whatever it was? Hackathon?
Yes, it was my co-founder's brother who was a big gamer and was actually starting to do some YouTube creative and stuff like that. And it's gone on to become successful with a group of like gaming, let's call it variety videos. So, I mean, they do scripted and unscripted, kind of stuff. That the name came there. But the other elements of become a part of this community, get a chance to get these items you know that are really core to what you're interested in, and the whole prizing element as well, the mega crate and everything was a big part of that. But those three kind of core tenets of focusing more on a membership experience versus just a convenience of subscribe and get curated stuff, that was very important to me. And I became the chief experience officer, and then kind of led those initiatives of content, biz dev, and others as we kind of grew the company and made it bigger. But now I'm working on a business that is in the subscription space, taking some of those learnings. And in addition to advising companies and investing, we're also, Pinfinity is our new kind of subscription community that we've launched during the pandemic. And that's kind of the main focus today.
And what does Pinfinity do?
So in December of last year, I came across, I've always been interested in AR and VR. I was lucky enough to get a VR headset pretty early on because I knew some people at Valve, and they were developing with HTC, the electronics company, a headset. And I knew a few people, and I was able to get a developer headset early, even though I wasn't going to develop on it. But
IT is close enough.
So I'd been enamored with it for a long time, but I really saw that like AR and that kind of element, even if we're going to be looking at our phones or through iPads or holding it up to a video camera, that would probably be something that would have more of a wide adoption. So while I was at the last company, part of our experience is at one point when we had 350,000 subscribers, I think a month, we launched, the box was able to be scanned. And that was the first time that we had kind of experimented with AR. I think that was 2015 or 16.
Yeah. I was like, dude's on some next level shit.
The chief experience officer to the chief innovation officer, our mobile app had something that was called Loot Lens that we all developed as a team. And that was something that we kind of experimented with. Now, unfortunately, we didn't really have a lot of time to kind of dive into that, but that allowed me to kind of see that adoption was there, that there was, and kind of build the infrastructure to learn about that. So in December, I came across an inventor who was working on a project for augmented reality pins. And so he is accomplished, his name is Caleb Paulus, he's our co-founder. He's an accomplished apparel designer, inventor, creator, everything from vinyl figures to soft lines. And Caleb had this idea, but he really needed some assistance in getting it off the ground because, he had his core competencies and what he was focused on, and we came in and helped. So he's in London. I have yet to even have met him in person. I consider him family. I mean, our kids talk to each other over video chats, and our wives know each other, but we have yet to actually meet. And now I think it's about almost 8 or 9 months or so of being in business. And in a nutshell, Pinfinity is a patent pending platform that allows us to take high quality enamel pins and allow them to come alive with animation, music, digital content based off of being scanned with our free mobile app on iOS and Android. So one example is this Subta pin that we did for the Subscription Trade Association welcome box. And when you scan that, you got a message from FedEx, and you saw the team at Subta in a video kind of come alive. And one great thing about these products is they're dynamic. So we can actually change the content behind them. So for conferences and virtual events, we can change it day by day. But that's what we're doing. And the kind of bigger picture is the subscription side, Pinfinity Plus. So for $20 a month plus shipping and handling, you get 2 pins and a lanyard, and then membership perks and other things and access to content. Again, so that your feeling of that monthly fee is not calculated in your brain of, well, the value of the pins. It's still a great value because our pins go for $12 a piece. But you're thinking about the connections you have with the community, the voice you have, and how the product development is done. Everything that creates that symbiotic relationship between our members and the business. And that's what we're ultimately working on. And it's been a little rough during the pandemic. There's no E3 or Comic-Con. You and I couldn't meet, and I couldn't show you, let's do some Bulu. So it's been a little constrained, but we're seeing a lot of success. It's actually going really well.
Yeah, that last point's kind of interesting because, being in e-commerce, I think everybody's like, oh, you guys must be killing it. And, a lot of our partners, we're big brands in the retail space. And it's like, oh, yeah, the Disney theme park shut down. And so I think that's a assumption by a lot of folks is like, well, you do something online, you must be doing well. And to your point, your conferences are shut down. It's just, it's like people should look at it as categories, not kind of, media vehicles or whatever vehicles they are. So I'm glad you brought that up. So with these pins, who are the companies that are using it? Is it one brand, or do you do it for other brands, or is it different brands within it? But how does, like, I saw the SUPTA one, but
I'm happy to dive into that, and I'll add a little more context around kind of what you mentioned in e-commerce. So, traditional e-commerce, you've seen me. I don't consider myself a guru. I don't really do the whole, like, I came up with this concept and look at this special.
That's why I love you so much. You're a human being, and it's not like these pins can save the world. If I hear one more damn save the world, I'm going to vomit.
But one of those things is this idea of fan commerce. And that's something that I'm really trying to kind of push. I'm not going to write a book or a podcast or anything, but like this idea that it's not e-commerce, it's fan commerce. Right. And that those individuals that you are targeting are going to be different than a typical e-commerce customer. And the fan component indicates that you are working on people that have probably a fairly wide affinity across different either a core focus like anime, gaming, etc., or a broader area. So what we started with is we did some of our own pins. I don't have those here, but we did some of our own internal IP and tried that out, and that worked well. While we worked on licensing agreements, and one of the biggest deals that we were able to get really early on was with Hasbro. So we were able to get 6 different licenses from them, including this is the My Little Pony one that we have here.
Yes.
But we also got Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, Transformers. So all of those have started to kind of come out. And then we did work with Namco and Capcom and some others. Yeah. So to answer your question directly, we sell our own direct pins that are our own Pinfinity originals, but those are kind of being phased out as we work on more of the license, just from you only have so much time of the day, right, and focus. So we make our own pins by licensing from partners and sell them direct through our website or through subscription. We sometimes make pins for partners. So like with the subscription summit, we do those pins. And so there's that line of channel and business. And then there's larger kind of wholesale distribution that we're just now getting into, where we can take some of the things like these Tetris pins that we have, and instead of just doing them direct through our website or subscription, have them in the same places where you buy other pop culture products and items. So it's a mix of that kind of stuff. And in 9 months, so Hannah and I invested a little bit early on as Guile Ventures. We're currently wrapping up our first fundraising kind of process, but the business is intended to start being profitable mid next year, and the way that the concept of the business is structured is to pay out profitable dividends quarterly to everybody who has ownership in the business. So we have a few strategic partners who've come in to invest. We're not talking millions of dollars. We didn't need millions of dollars to build this, thanks to Shopify and Recharge and the connections we have. Really, our big overhead is licensing, like the minimum guarantees. We have to be careful about that stuff. Otherwise, there's no office, there's no warehouse, there's nothing like that today that we have to be concerned with.
Yeah, welcome to the new world. I can't help but think of if you're familiar with Disney's is it D3? Is that what it's called? D3, the thing we won? Yeah. D23, thank you.
D23, but it's D23.
I know. I thought 23, and I was like, no, it's just question. Michael Jordan. I looked it up one time.
Disney was founded or something?
There's something like that. But this seems like perfect for that. We actually launched a product there, and it was like mind blowing. And when I see this, I'm like, oh, for any of the Disney partners we have watching this, if they are, they're probably busy, but dude, we got to connect you with them because this would be super dope for it.
We have some good news there. So the woman who created the pin program at Disney and the Bippity Boppity Boutique experience, that woman is one of our advisors.
You're on it.
So we're talking directly to parks and stores around Disney.
Perfect.
So we actually launched in the UK. Caleb was working at a company at the time who had the Disney Marvel license, and
nice.
Pinfinity pins came out last year in the UK, Star Wars pins and Marvel pins, 3 Star Wars, 3 Marvel. So we kind of have those that we've been using in our decks to show Disney.
Yeah.
And we have that licensing and everything. Obviously, it's different in the States, but we were able to test it out in that area and work with it. And we're currently talking to Disney across Lucas, Pixar, and Marvel about those lines. But in the meantime, we love Disney as a partner. We are working on Comcast, NBC, Universal. We have like 15 licenses coming out there. So you'll see Jurassic Park pins.
Minion, my kid would freak out.
She-Ra, some classic films, Universal Monsters, Fast and the Furious. And all of these are intended to, like here's one that we did for a partner for the 25th anniversary of their game called Worms. They're all intended to be really great pins on their own. Yes. And then when you scan them, have that deeper emotional connection and response, because sure, I can make a pin of the Death Star with the X-Wing on it and it looks great. It is, $12 pin and people are wearing it. They're hard enamel. Yeah. But when you can scan it and the surface of the pin changes to the scene from the film where Luke was doing it and you're hearing the sounds, and then you can download an X-Files. You can download an X-Wing wallpaper and you can get an emoji keyboard with Star Wars stuff. All of that is kind of how we're connecting the digital experiences to the physical product.
Awesome. You had me at He-Man, and please don't forget Orko. Everybody forgets Orko.
We'll see. It's going to be the Kevin Smith series on Netflix that we're working with first on He-Man before we work with. So I'm
old
sure
school.
There'll be references to some of the early ones, early characters as well.
Yeah. Also, no references of that god awful movie with Dolph Lundgren. So,
it's if you can watch it for free and you want to just sit back and watch it, crack open a beer or something. It's still a fun movie.
Even as a kid, I remember being like, "What the hell? Like, who is that?"
That whole transition from toys to film.
Hey, Turtles did it. TMNT did it. TMNT did it.
TMNT did it well for the first 2 movies.
Nailed it. So have you seen The Toys That Made Us on Netflix?
Absolutely. In fact,
how amazing is that series?
A couple of people that I know that are featured in it that were speaking in it.
It's so good. Okay, so did you see, just released, Stephanie showed me this last night. I thought she wanted to watch it with me, but it was like, go away. Well, actually, I'll be honest. All right, this is probably TMI, but she was like, no, turn it on. I'm going to fall asleep. And I was like, by the time I'm searching for it, trying to use my microphone button on my Roku, I'm like, is it called? I'm like, oh, I'm on my own. But I managed to binge watch The Holidays That Made Us. Did you see that?
I have not seen it yet. I've seen The Toys That Made Us, the movies that made us, but I'm waiting to watch The Holidays That Made Us.
Holiday movies that made us.
The holiday movies that made us.
Elf, Nightmare Before Christmas, all that good stuff.
And then they have like the stuff that made us. It's okay. But they do Elf and Nightmare Before Christmas, or I'm sorry, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, which our entire yard had inflatables of all of the characters of Nightmare Before Christmas. I think you're really going to enjoy that. But I found out, I was really confused because all the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff flooded this year for both Christmas and Halloween, and it had the Disney logo all over it, and I could not figure out why. And they walk through the whole explanation of it. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it was at a time when Tim Burton was doing a few different films, and it was really, really good. And I think the interesting thing that connects back to what you're saying is they were talking about how when they launched Nightmare Before Christmas, like it wasn't a big release. Little kids didn't really like it. They added Tim Burton's name to it to appeal to kind of an older audience. And it was, again, I don't want to give too much away because it's so cool to learn it, but 13 years later, Burton and his crew, which they called I think they called them the Burtons or the Birdies. This is like crew that rolled around with them. They were in, I believe, like China or a foreign country, and there was all these figures of Nightmare Before Christmas, and they were like, we've never seen this. We made that movie 13 years ago, and like it was kind of considered a bomb. And the way that that's movie grown, it took it almost 13 years to grow. And the key is like the fan element to what you're talking about, and a lot of that kind of like Land of Misfit Toys vibe going on with it, which the other one is Elf. So the two films, yeah, dude, like stop what you're doing tonight and definitely watch those.
Well, what's great is direct to fan and fan commerce, or more, or more, D2C e-commerce. I'm never gonna. I think it's gonna take me a while to get those to stick. But what I call direct to fan commerce or fan commerce is you don't need to worry about how it's going to you have a little more flexibility of what your addressable market is. And you can go deeper into the franchises to get the fan favorite things that just aren't in the style guide. And you can be more confident that there's an audience out there that's willing to exchange their hard-earned dollars for something really special, regardless of whether it's on a store shelf at Target and Walmart. And, obviously I love traditional retail, no disrespect to traditional retail channels.
Right.
To be able to go deeper, this Worms pin, we're going to sell out of these like crazy. It's a fan favorite 25-year thing. It would not work at GameStop.com.
Yeah.
It's people are going to be looking for Cyberpunk and Star Wars Squadrons and Minecraft and Roblox and things like that. So those companies have to make a decision on what they're going to carry and what they're going to put their marketing dollars behind. So what we've been able to do, thankfully, is find some of those niches, not too deep. I mean, look, we're doing Transformers, My Little Pony, but Tetris, is one of our biggest partners. Just announced a movie coming with John Vaught and the team who did The Kingsman. So,
okay,
nice.
Both that actor and director, they're going to do a story about how Tetris came to be and the whole history as a film.
Awesome. You got to give us a spoiler so we can like jack up our numbers super early on. And we're going to use every brand that you did use in the metadata and the keyword search. So we're going to totally we're going to have to owe you a thing or two. Did you have a question? I got a bunch of questions.
Well, no, I was curious. You've been talking about fan commerce, and I have already forgotten the term you used for a fan customer versus a regular customer. Did you have a term for it?
We just members. They're when it comes to subscription, it's one of those things. I'm not going around telling the whole team like I don't want to hear the word customer. They're members, kind of like. but no, it's just that nomenclature, that culture is that these subscribers are our members, and then the customers are fans. They're not just customers.
Yeah. So I'm curious, in your experience from Loot Crate and now with Pinfinity and all of these like products and content that you're creating around this like fandom, you've mentioned a few of the things that do work, like deeper content, behind the scenes content, stuff like that. But what doesn't work, whether it comes from like a product, because in the like licensing world, I mean, you see like Marvel or whoever on like toilet paper, so I'm curious, like whether it's a product or even like content, what doesn't work? What is it that these fans are like, no, get that away from me?
Look, you're always going to be able to sell Avengers products that have Hulk and Thor and everything else like that. And people are going to want to buy Doctor Strange bathrobes and things like that. We've designed a lot of stuff over the years. But when you go a little bit deeper and you do Goose the Cat from Captain Marvel, and you do the Tesseract, and you do, Maria Hill from S.H.I.E.L.D., who's like not very prominent in the movies, but to certain fans, who know that history of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Marvel and everything. So I think it's if you just focus on those kind of just what's at the very top and don't go a little bit deeper. As far as individual products, I mean, to your point, Star Wars, Marvel, you're going to be able to do, I saw a Marvel waffle maker the other day, and it wasn't like any character. It literally just allowed you to pour batter in there and have the word Marvel be on your waffle.
Oh my God.
And so
this is why Orko gets no love.
That are going to be deep, but yeah, there's some products that don't work. And then as from a business perspective, when it comes to reaching those fans, I think you have that opportunity to go deeper. Like I said, with Dungeons and Dragons, we focused on people that are players of Dungeons and Dragons in our paid performance marketing, not just people who know about it and like dragons and like the iconography. And what's happening? People are coming and buying like 12 pins at a time because they're buying them for their whole D&D group, and they want to use them as gifts and everything. And when they see our content, to your point, Stephanie, where we talk about like how to start a D&D group during the pandemic, and here's some tips and tricks, or one of the pins that we have actually changes monthly. The monster that comes out of it is a different monster from the world of D&D in order to be kind of a constantly dynamic thing where every month you scan the pin, you see something new. Those kind of deeper cuts and that kind of attention to detail is maybe not going to be the largest addressable market we have, but it's going to be the most engaged. It's going to be the most the most advocates around it. And that's what I focused on with a lot of the businesses in the past. Remember, we didn't have any licenses, any rights. We were hand stamping boxes with a rubber stamp. We were buying boxes off of Uline, and we still managed to get 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 150, 250,000 subscribers. And then eventually we were buying, in bulk. We did stuff with Funko, et cetera. But it was that kind of core focus. That's what we did with Pinfinity, and that's what we do with the companies that we advise and work with, is we help discover where are those pockets of authentic content and products that you could create to really get those early people. Maybe it's going to expand in the future, but that core infrastructure and building a financial model that is potentially conservative from a number point, but not conservative from a how are these people going to interact with us? I'm a data guy. That's why I love pulling up Shopify and some of the tools we have, watching AOV go up, watching LTV, continue to go up. Those are the key indicators that we're seeing. Repeat purchases. I'd rather have a nice core group of people with a lot of repeat purchases who continuously come back with what we're doing because they not only love the product, but they love the brand and the service they get, than people just coming one-off buying something and I never see them again.
Man, I need you to talk to a few people for me about that.
Yeah.
So do you have another question?
You go ahead. I'll chime in after.
Yeah, we get asked a lot about, we've done licensing and, we've learned the pros and cons, and we did, I think, about 2 years of research before we kind of dipped our toe in it, and we're like, we did all right, but it's kind of like, that's just an entirely different business model, and you really need people with experience. And, we get people all the time when we're like doing fulfillment for these companies. They're like, hey, how do we get this product or whatever? Like, you guys have Mickey Mouse and this and that. Like, how do we get them? And I'm like, well, you don't just like pick up the phone, and there's ways around it where people are like, well, I'm going to buy it and resell it because it's a fan box or whatever it is. And, a lot of people will bring up Loot Crate, or I'm sure now what you're doing, a lot of people are going to be asking about Pinfinity. What are some of the things, kind of tangible things that you can educate some of the subscription box folks who want to carry these big names, and maybe they're interested in licensing, and maybe they're not, but maybe it's more about like, how do I, if I'm a subscription box owner, founder, operations person, how do I secure, whether it's licensing or something else, some of these amazing products in these boxes to entice customers to sign up?
Well, to start with, it's really about the scale of your business. I mean, being able to pay the minimum guarantee, and I'll work backwards, right? So being able to afford a minimum guarantee, which without giving too much detail, can be as little as $1,500 with, a royalty. And we've seen like $100,000 and a royalty. Depending on what you're doing. So for some people, $1,500, $5,000 for some things, you'd be surprised how many licensed partners out there. For us, we have an advantage, kind of a plug, but like we not only have pins, but they are these, no one else has augmented reality pins. So that obviously helped us. But let's go back to what I did in the past, or what we did in the past, and how we advise and work with companies now. So to start with, it's the beginning of introducing those products into your subscription, even if you're having to pay for them. Even if you're having to get stuff that, is discounted or maybe extra stock, that'll fit the numbers that you're looking for. And you're not just buying excess stock that nobody wants. You're buying stuff that might just be remnants from a larger partner. So I encourage entrepreneurs who want to start introducing licensed products to just go ahead and start that process of seeing what it would actually cost and if the box economics make sense. When we had Loot Crate, and we had a box that was $13.37 plus $6 shipping and handling. It was all kind of, well, the $13.37 was kind of inside joke. So it ended up being like $20. We were still, of those first boxes, Paul, we were buying stuff at like $4 to $5 per item, you know, and we were only able to because we didn't know what we didn't know. I mean, we didn't know anything about
Right.
So the idea of, oh, I really want to get an item for $1 that retails for $5 that, you know, I can put in my box or something, that wasn't even there. So if it's something that you can't afford, start showcasing them in there, because what you want to do is you want to build a case study. You want to show, hey, because I am an engaged business, because I am leaning into the community aspects of it, here's this item I put in that was this, let's just say, Marvel toothbrush, you know, because maybe it's something about kids' hygiene or something like that. There's nothing that restricts you normally from just buying a product and putting it in there. You can't use any of the marketing materials. You can't like say coming, you know, in next. You have to be kind of careful there. And I recommend people look into the rules and licensing and talk to their lawyers and everything. But starting to implement that stuff, the way to kind of do it, the next phase is to work with licensed partners that have the license and work with them and say, hey, I now have 250 people. I have 2,500 people. I'd like to take your product and put it in here. You're an official licensed partner of Disney for Marvel toothbrushes. Can I, you know, I'd like to make a bulk order and have that kind of in there. Because you're helping them meet their minimum guarantee, and you're helping Disney get their royalty. So you're helping the fan get something that's really amazing that they may have more of affinity towards because it's licensed. The next step from that is to work with those partners about products that maybe they never brought to market because they were worried that like, oh, this bandana, this neckerchief, this wristband, I'm kind of riffing here, but whatever the product is just wouldn't work in retail, or the minimum quantity, you know, we'd have to get, you know, it only really would make sense if we can order hundreds of thousands of them. You can find partners that have this idea for a figure, for a piece of apparel, for something interesting that they can then go back to the licensed partner and say, I'm working with X box. They have 5,000 subscribers. I know that might be a rounding error to you overall, to your business. But I'd love to be able to introduce this product in there. And so you were able to get stuff, and that's where you're able to say, you can't get it anywhere else. Yes, it is licensed. It's in our box. And that could be as simple, Stephanie and Paul, as stickers. You know, it doesn't need to be high cost items if you want to start introducing licensed things into the box.
Or as complicated and dangerous as Mickey Mouse switchblades, because some of that stuff never makes it out to the market, right?
Right. So that's kind of like a kind of a tiered way of doing it. How did we do it with Pinfinity? Sure, we had some connections, but we didn't start the business with millions of dollars. But I will say we did start the business with a couple of $100,000. So that might not be applicable to a lot of people who might come across this, but that allowed us to be able to take a little bit of money, establish the business, set it up, and start getting a couple of those licenses in the like no MG or very low MG introduction. We did a really great deal with Hasbro because they saw us as more of a partner than just somebody who's going to take their license and put it on pins. And that just kind of scaled and continued to grow and continue to grow. And so that's what kind of has allowed us to be able to get that so early. I mean, we started the business on April 15th. It's now, December 4th or so when this is being recorded. And in that period of time, we have over 24 licenses for some of the top IP out there.
That's awesome.
Our subscription last month was Pac-Man to celebrate, which is shipping now for the 40th anniversary of Pac-Man. Next month is Transformers. After that, you know, are going to be more and more gaming and high-profile IP. That's going to be able to allow us to scale our subscription. And because we are licensed partners, we get to create media, assets, videos, as long as they have legal lines and get approval. So that's where you see on LinkedIn, you'll see me post like coming soon, Transformers and Pinfinity, coming soon, My Little Pony, both trying to promote the business to B2B and people like you and Stephanie who are in the industry who might, you know, that might be interesting or might be collaboration. And
absolutely,
obviously. So when a fan sees a company that hadn't exist like Pinfinity, but they see this amazing Transformer video and it's targeted them as a Transformer fan, all of that leads us to be able to keep marketing costs down, interest high, and scale the business accordingly.
Yeah, my head goes right away to, with a lot of subscription boxes or, frankly, any, consumer packaged good, but obviously we're the topic, subscription boxes. There's so many times like, the instructions or the insert, right? And we do a lot of plants, and I right away I couldn't help but think of Lunarly, and I'm like, oh, that would be fascinating to like scan a pin or whatever it is, and actually have like your plant should look like this at this stage, and you're like, shit, mine's dying. What am I doing wrong? So we had to kill a lot of plants before we figured that out. But for the listeners out there, I think that's fascinating to be able to, my mind is racing on all of the different ways that you can incorporate it, especially, when you start working in licensing. I think you had a great point of like, call up the people that have the licenses already. And I think that so many times entrepreneurs, and I see this all the time when I have conversations. I mean, shit, I had like, last week alone, I probably talked to like 6 different entrepreneurs, right? And it was this mindset. And I think, our team, the people that were in from day one, still have a little bit of this. I mean, somebody was texting me like their computer was a couple $100 more, and they're like, is that cool? I'm like, why are you asking? Just go get it. Like, it isn't like 2011 anymore. Like, you're good, bro. Just get it. But it's this mindset when you start at zero. And, it's not even necessarily you're pinching pennies. You're just price conscious, and everybody's talking to everybody like, do we need that thing? And then you build up this idea. And out of those entrepreneurs that I talked to, some of them had phenomenal numbers, but they're like, oh, I'm not that big. And I'm like, yes, you are. Especially
a subscription box of 250 people comfortably a month. You're doing better than you're there. You get it to 2,500. You got a really solid business. You get it to 15, you get it to 10,000, and depending on your means and what you're interested in and stuff like that, if you can control churn and you can continue kind of taking those 10,000 and growing them, you've got a really established business. You don't need to have 100,000 or 450,000 or 650,000.
Yeah.
I think you hit like the cliffs, like at the right, like a few hundred.
That was funny when
2,500 and like 10K. We talk about like similar like thresholds. Like that's where you're kind of like reaching the next.
And then I always say, I don't know why it is, but something about 14,000. If you don't start 14,000 a month, if you don't start outsourcing or getting really good people in, you slowly start to lose your mind. I don't know what it is at that number.
You've reached
there's a
growth
whole
stage.
other podcast, maybe like 2 years from now, where I can be more comfortable talking about stuff from the last company. And there's a lot of challenges and ups and downs, but this is not bragging. It was, there was a lot of things. We went from a garage to a 250,000 square foot warehouse, and that is not, oh, look at the success we have. No, we probably shouldn't have done that in the way that we did do it. So there are,
we can relate.
Look, right now, every day, with a mask and hand sanitizer and lots of hand washing, I'm taking our boxes and stuff, and now we're at the point where you go to the back of the USPS, but I'm able to do bulk deliveries, and we're doing that, and that's what we used to do back in the day. Then we went to a U-Haul truck that we'd have to rent once a month to fill the back of the U-Haul truck. And then there was 40-foot USPS trailers coming to our tiny little office with postal workers loading the Gaylords into the back of them. And we didn't do any third-party logistics all the way up to more than 500,000 subscribers. And meanwhile, we have this whole warehouse operation. My partner was a first-time kind of CEO in that space and stuff like that. I mean, of course, that led to further challenges and everything, because like, how does he wrap his head around? I've got hundreds of employees. I'm doing this subscription business. And I also have this giant warehouse and people scanning in with their thumbprints and security cameras and shrinkage. So yes, there's a lot we can go down. I'm happy to chat with you at some point. But to Stephanie's point, yes, there are those, to both of your points, there is that level to where like, what does it actually look like? Look, for us, what's nice, there's a reason why I also am enamored with our own product. Can be shipped in pouches versus boxes, lightweight. I can get like 12 units into a single pouch without, I better like get like a box or something. So, it's really easy for us. But what you're going to see in the future from us is there will be boxes that the pins lay in with the lanyard. So the boxes become collectible. And every month there will be the IP on the top of the box. Because remember, we were doing bespoke boxes every single month. So we changed the size and shape of the box and then we did what we called crate craft, which allowed us to make the boxes interactive and hold them and make them dioramas or dinosaurs and things of that nature.
Okay, so like when Bulu Box started, when Paul and I were just doing Bulu Box before we started, offering our services to our partners.
Yeah.
We had this like mantra that we would say, what would Birchbox do?
Yep.
So
WWBB.
Yeah, WWBB. Because they were a sample box and we were also a sample box in a different space, right? And then as we started offering turnkey subscription solutions to partners, the conversation, I feel like it shifted to like, how do we make a Loot Crate-like experience? So when we started talking, you're like,
WWMAD.
I'm like, you said I don't consider myself like a guru by any means. Well, I'm like, well, that's too bad because I think a lot of the people in the subscription box industry do. Yeah. And I mean, I remember we still have the Doctor Who TARDIS box. If you remember that one, it like inverted. Yeah, and I think you've done way cooler ones than that one even. Yeah. But we
had to
folded
stay within
that thing
budget.
Inside and out, and we were like, how can we? Yeah. And our partners were always asking us, like, I want a box like Loot Crates. And how can we make it more like Loot Crate?
This isn't a plug, especially because I think
we want to share names and partners. And
you just shoveled in it, and I kind of was rambling because it was like kind of off the cuff. But if you search for like Loot Crate and paper and packaging board or something like that on YouTube, there is a video like created, and you'll see myself and who was our chief creative officer, David Voss. You'll see us talking about like why we did it and what it was all about and everything. So if anybody wants to see like more information about like why did we do
we'll find it. We'll link to it.
What was the value there? Yeah.
Check the link below.
or link to things that are more future focused.
We got you. I got you.
Again, look, Paul, like there's lots of stories we can tell.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, and I'm very happy with what all the team was able to accomplish there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things we would do differently. And so, there is a little bit of a sense of looking back and it's not all great fond memories.
Oh, hell no.
It's more of any entrepreneur, any business owner is going to have to weigh the good and the bad. My wife, Hannah, who's the CEO of Pinfinity and the one of my managing partner, well, her and I are the managing partners of Guile Ventures, our venture studio. She was employee number 2. And so that changes a lot of the dynamic. We had we had the very first LC baby, right, which was our son, the first like employee that had a child while, as far as the company's like foundation was concerned.
Yeah.
And so that changed a lot of the dynamic and everything. So there was definitely a lot to learn. And I would encourage people, look at the stuff that we've done, that LC has done in the past, but do understand that there by no means do we feel that everything was done perfect. And there was a lot of challenges. And look, ultimately, the company isn't in the same state it is today as it was back then. I'm not involved with a different thing. I wish that whole team the best of luck. This is the most I've really talked about it. So there's also a little anxiety. But look, hopefully I've been careful. I don't want to say any ill will.
No, I think you've been nothing but respectable. Like, it's the tone and the thought. I mean, it's coming across how you want to be respectful of that. And I think that's absolutely correct. And there
was people who were impacted both positively and negatively about a lot of things over the years, right? The ups and downs of a startup. And I want to be respectful for the team and the people and people who kind of had to go through those ups and downs with us. But let's move forward. So
well, I'll tell you this: if there's anybody that's going to have anybody that wants to talk shit about them, I'm sure it's me. And I always say, like, here's the thing: like, if you're going to do anything of substance, it's inevitable you're going to have bad and worse choices. I mean, you can call it ups and downs or whatever, but the thing is like, I always feel like, can I look at myself at the end of the day, quite literally, look in the mirror and say, I did the best that I can. And I can't provide context or everything to everyone. There's literally just not enough time in the day. And many times for me, it comes down to like, do I want to spend time being a good husband and a father to our 2 little boys? Or do I want to spend, all of my time explaining every single little detail to, everybody involved inside our company and not? And, I just view it as like, maybe simply as, like doing the right thing is, we can curse, like doing the right thing is fucking hard. Like it's really hard because a lot of times you got to make tough decisions for the greater good, for the long term. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but I always think back of like, in this moment, do I have enough information? Can I look myself in the mirror? Can I look all of my team members or partners straight in the eye and say, this is what we're going to do and this is why? And, at a certain point, I think maybe, for me personally, like you get beat down so bad that you actually learn, it's like sadomasochism. You learn to appreciate the challenges and you get that thick skin and you're able to make the correct decision. So no, I just, we'll leave it at this, but I think you've been nothing but respectful and that tone's coming off. And, you take those lessons and you learn and you move forward. And, dude, I think what you're doing right now is like super dope. I'm like trying not to geek out on it. I do think it's super valuable, whether it's from the past or the future. We really want to have this show where people share things. Like I love how you're like Shopify and you're talking about the technical piece. I think so many podcasts, and this is our goal is to have like a really core base of listeners, and it can go wherever it wants to go. Where I've done podcasts in the past that have been like Apple trending, top business podcasts or whatever, and it's like that's cool and whatever, but like it's almost like, and this is one of the reasons why I push poor Mariah. I was like, get Matthew on as soon as we can, because I want to set the tone with people that are known for helping other people out in our little like subscription box community, right? And I want to like almost set the tone of our industry. And I think Chris George, Paul Chambers, and the whole Subta team, they're really onto something with the cooperation, because the reality is that it's not really subscription boxes. It's like digitizing different categories. And it's just like, taking what's out there. I'm like, there's plenty of room for everybody. And to me, taking those phone calls that I have and I'm, repeating the same thing of like, well, we use Recharge for this, we use Shopify for this, talk to this person. And I think one of the, many challenges or mistakes that we've made is, and you touched on this, is you try to be good at everything, right? And I think in year 5, we just said like, look, what I always tell people, my whole career, I was like quarterback, kicker, receiver. And then I get to college and they're like, you're a nose guard. I was like, what? I am? Okay. I guess I'm a converted high school quarterback to nose guard. And, it's like realizing like, what are you good at? Where is your passion? As weird as it sounds, like we really love like the logistics and operations and streamlining and like the not like a shameless plug, but like the fulfillment of stuff is like really cool to us. I also, that came a lot from Toby at Shopify, who, poor Toby, we used to complain so early on to him that he actually would talk to me on the phone. I'd be tweeting
I'm not sure we could get a direct line anymore.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we can't. But I was, I'm still obsessive about everything that he says and does, and I think he's brilliant. And he talked about, building $1 billion company and kind of the 6 key factors, and one of them is geography and leveraging what is around you. And man, that little piece of advice completely changed the direction of our company, because I was like, we are in Nebraska. We've worked in New York City and advertising, San Francisco, but like, what does Nebraska have? We got I-80, we have fulfillment, we have boxes, we have everything around us. Like, what are we doing trying to do all these other things? Like, let's focus in. And when you were talking about LA, I was like, I think there's something to entrepreneurs understanding what's available and how important, you can't become a pro at logistics and, licensing and these, you can't
in
pick
the middle
20
of Manhattan.
things, right? In the middle of Manhattan,
Yeah.
right? And so what are some of the, I always tell people a lot of times when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, I'm like, I'm just talking to myself, 5 years ago or whatever it is.
Or 5 years in the future.
Or, 5 weeks ago. But what are some of the things that you wish, if you had a time machine, if we had a TARDIS, right? And you could hop in that and go back, and there weren't any, oh my gosh, why, I'm forgetting the name of them, the robots, damn it. Mariah knows. Daleks, thank you, Daleks. There weren't any Daleks there. But if you could get in a TARDIS time machine, go back to any key point in, your learning, what do you wish you could kind of like grab yourself and shake yourself and go like, man, you need to really pay attention to blah, blah, blah. Stop doing software, pay attention to numbers. What are those things that come to mind immediately for you?
I mean, LC was my first startup experience. So even though I was part of the LA tech scene, and the idea of startups and that Silicon Valley and everything, because I'd been, as a tech guy, I'd been working on everything from BBSs with dial-up modems back in the late 90s through Friendster and Google Circles and MySpace and all this kind of stuff. So my idea, I didn't understand the idea of a true startup. I still was drinking the Kool-Aid. I wasn't like, I want a Tesla, or there wasn't Tesla at the time. I wasn't like, I want to be a startup because of that stuff. It was more of, I didn't really understand how entrepreneurship really worked back then and what the challenges and things could be and what elements I could have. So when I started this with my partner, I could have gone to people at the time to help advise on things like the dynamics of working with a co-founder, the thought process of building, core infrastructure of the business, operating agreements, like all these different things. Look, today, thankfully, our general counsel, our advisors, these are people that have decades and decades of experience. And I was able to say, look, while there was ups and downs back then, I understand them, I address them. There are some things that, are more of a conversation for other people in the business than me, as far as like who could speak more to it. I was never like a 50-50 partner or anything. Luck never stopped with me. And so that was fine. But I think as things became more and more complex, boards, executives, and stuff like that, kind of having an understanding of what kind of voice I could have and where my role did make the most sense, I think I would have been able to, and I advise companies and young entrepreneurs today on those kind of elements of understanding, look, it's not fun to have a whole operating agreement of how decisions are going to be made and sit down and slow down and have conversations about what is our strategy? What are we doing? And I think my partner was younger, and it was his first kind of situation like this as well. I was in my early 30s, kind of, like kind of early 30s. And I think there was a lot that we could have brought in early on while we were having that growth and success. And instead, it was more of a heads down. Let's just do it best for the fans, subscribers. And so we kind of and it was a monthly subscription, right? Every month.
Relentless.
And so before we knew it, years went by. And so the way that we now establish businesses with our partners, I see we're coming up to the hour mark here. The way that we've established the things now is a little bit more of that entrepreneurship startup 101 types of things where I don't have the answers. We do nothing about patents, for example, Paul. Pinfinity on the back, patent pending. I had to ask our advisors, hey, put me in touch with somebody with tech patent. I want to see if this holds water. I want to know what's going on and everything. I could have just said, no, we know it. Like we know, as long as we make something. It was acknowledging what you know and what you don't know and evaluating what that looks like. And I believe I've grown as a person. I believe everybody who's been involved with that business. We don't talk about it a lot. But it was a good experience. There was a lot to learn from it.
That's awesome, man. Hey, so something that we are going to start to ask people to do, I think on our last episode, it might have been a EOSworldwide.com entrepreneurial operating system is kind of like a structure to run your business, a few other things. But, one of the books that always comes to mind is Art of Start by Guy Kawasaki 2.0. If you could choose either one book or one software or one of each, which would be greater, what do you think that either entrepreneurs for subscription boxes or people that are pretty early in the subscription box process, one recommendation of each if possible?
One recommendation of each?
Maybe just one software or one book.
Oh, I mean, from a software perspective, I mean, it's all about managing your time and experience and all that kind of stuff. So we use Trello for all of that. So I could have said HubSpot for biz dev and blah, blah. But I mean, look, Trello. I mean, I have no skin in the game. I don't know any of the team or anything else like that.
Yeah.
But it seems to be for a lot of the company. And obviously you'll get to real quote unquote, real project management, stuff like that. But look, just to keep things with Slack and everything that's out there, so many times it's just like, I'll remember to call that guy up and tell him, I'll go do this. Well, Trello integrates with Slack, and you can look up tasks, you can add new tasks, you can do all this kind of new stuff. So Trello is a great piece of software. Obviously, Shopify for e-commerce, I think is the best. Caveat: I haven't used WooCommerce. I haven't used does BigCommerce is the other one. BigCommerce, like I haven't used those tools, but the ecosystem of Shopify, the community around it, and stuff like that. If you're doing anything online, Recharge is a partner of ours as well. Love Recharge. From a book and like learning perspective, The Art of Happiness at Work by the Dalai Lama and his I don't remember his partner who like did all the interviews with the Dalai Lama and then and did it. But so they did a book called The Art of Happiness, and it was just general kind of things to help you be more just cognizant of being in the present moment and things like that. They then did The Art of Happiness at Work, I believe it's called, because it's been a little while. It's not like I go back every month and read through it, but it really helped me think about a lot of the ways that things, your intention and your focus and things of that nature. So I tried to pick something for you that was a little probably off the beaten path. I mean, we could say Howard Schultz's book on Starbucks, or
no, I love hearing something I haven't heard before.
Rest in peace, Tony Hsieh with his book on happiness. So a lot of those things, all that was great. Guy Kawasaki, luckily I met him years ago before I was even in startership when he was doing some stuff. And Guy Kawasaki is the evangelist, right? The work that he did. I actually think it's interesting that not a lot of stuff that I know of has been gotten. No one has a documentary really looked into the world of Apple. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't his longest tenure, but I think the way of thinking about things helped me frame a balance of how creating enchantment and how creating that mystery and that magic, that it's easy to say those things, but by actually implementing them into what you do makes a lot of sense. So it's the like little secret extra pin that's in someone's thing, or it's the way that we respond, it's the tone and stuff like that. So a lot of the values that we've done with companies and the way that we project it now is based off that idea of creating enchanting experiences for people. Things that people, the way that I describe it is, my goal for our companies and the companies we advise and the companies that we admire is for people to love the brand. You go to Pinfinity/reviews, pinfinityar.com/reviews, 200 plus reviews, average rating 4.9 stars.
You're so young still.
They're not incentivized. We don't give them like a free pin. You don't even get a discount coupon. Cool. We just send them a message through judge.me and they get it. But it's what we want to see. Really great fast shipping. I had an issue. They resolved it quickly. I can't wait to buy for you again. I haven't even scanned the pin, but I know it's going to be amazing. I bought this as a gift. All those key little components. I want people to feel happy that they found Pinfinity and that they look forward to the engagements we have with them, just as much as the actual physical products that we give them as members of our service and everything. And I think that's the ideal, probably the people obviously that are the best at this is Apple and things like that. Maybe even like Xbox, where I'm proud to be a member of the Xbox community. I'm happy that I went down the path of Xbox versus something else, the same way that I'm proud to be a part of the Apple community, and I'm happy about the decision I made to invest my time and energy into Apple, just as much as I love this laptop I'm using or the Xbox that's in the room behind me.
Awesome. I want to subscribe to Pinfinity. How do I do that?
So you just go to, we have two domains, pinfinityar.com, a little hard to remember sometimes. So you can reach any of our stuff through pins.ar. So pins.ar for augmented reality. So if you go to pins.ar/join, you'll see what this month's theme is. You'll see
Awesome.
the pins that you're going to get. They aren't mystery. We showcase the pins because the AR is the mystery component that we use.
Nice.
So the idea is to be just as excited about this pin and getting it. And then when you scan it, you'll see as the AR comes alive, that's the mystery component. And we have 2 plans, month to month or 6 months in advance. And you can also see the membership perks you get for being a member of Pinfinity. And a quick little note, take a look at some of what those perks are because they're going to expand over time. But as we were talking, Stephanie, like that's kind of the ideal, right? Is can you get enough of an established base that you can start making partnerships with companies and brands that are non-competitive and additive to the ecosystem that your end member is interested in? So expect to see, kind of little teaser, that as Pinfinity does things with specific verticals like anime or gaming, that by being a member of that Pinfinity subscription, you'll also get benefits from anime and gaming brands and stuff out there, so that you can actually kind of combine services or do different things. So that's kind of the ideal situation, so that as people think about what streaming service am I going to use to watch the anime that I love, it's like, well, what if you can get the streaming service and this amazing physical product? So now you get to experience it digitally, but show your affinity through a physical product. And then why not a physical product that also allows you to see digital content? So that's where Pinfinity kind of comes in. We think that there's a big market for us, and have seen so far, to partner up with digital membership subscriptions like streaming and content companies, and be the physical component to them. No sizing, no complicated manufacturing or anything, and you can still get that collectible sense and that continuity that people are looking for.
We got to get this man in some of our boxes, man. Well, hey, just a wealth of knowledge. We're gonna invite you back. Hopefully, you say yes. Does that sound good? Not immediately. We'll give you some time. We want to check up on you, and I have so many more questions.
We can come up with a specific talking point, like the starting up a Shopify store like Tech Stack, or how to build a profitable referral and affiliate system.
Man, I don't know. I mean, you killed it. You killed it. I'm like, just let him go. Let him do his thing. I mean, I love that type of content though. And I feel like if we really wanted to, we could sit down and between the 3 of us do a whole series just on like the 5 key steps to get up and running. But I mean, you're like such a natural storyteller, awesome. And I've done a lot of these, and I'm like, when you can sit back and you're just like, damn, I'm our Bulu bias. Also, you look good, man, and you're somebody that I've always tried to nudge and get by if I could get in between you and Chris at events, right? But for what it's worth, you look like you're in a really great space. You look like you're in your own.
I got my quarantine haircut.
Yeah, just
so it's a little fluffy.
Yeah, no, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm not like one of those vibe or spiritual or whatever, but I'm just I don't know, you just look like you're doing your thing, and you can feel it coming off of you. So
it's amazing to work with my wife day in and day out, right? Yeah. That's the benefit, so
Amen.
Knowing that I can have those conversations, and then that might be a topic at some point too.
That's another topic. Yeah.
I almost went there, but there's so much to do. So, oh man, thank you so much.
I'm thankful for you giving me the time to be able to speak and stuff like that. And if I look happy and I look good, or look like I'm in a good state of mind, it's because there's a lot of scars and a lot of bruises, but I've always just kept focused on how can I be as mutually beneficial to the other people that I work with. And I'm not going to get it right all the time. Sometimes I put my foot in my mouth. Everybody's got their quirks, but as long as your intention is to just create a great experience, whether it be for your fans, not my fans, but the fans of the product, for your partners, for the businesses you work with, and everything else falls into place. And obviously the key component is keep those people who are supporting your business as happy as possible. Yeah. And it's the standard, the customer's always right and everything, but it's the truth. They give you the strength. They're the foundation, and that looter environment that we created. I mean, the idea of hello looters, that was day one on Facebook. It wasn't like a focus group of like, what should we call them? So I think that's a key component. I'm very happy to be able to acknowledge some of the things that may not have been great in the past and find ways to be able to help others avoid some of those pitfalls and learn from others as well. Constantly trying to learn more from people and what they're doing, and just keep plugging forward. It's an interesting world and time we live in today, and so I'm very happy to be able to do so. So thank you for taking the time and chatting.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. So Matthew, CEO and founder of Pinfinity. Check it on pins.ar.
Hannah's the CEO.
But sweet. I tried to do that.
So the three of us, it's Caleb Paulus, who's our Chief Creative Officer and our partner in the business.
Apologies to Hannah. What's your title?
Hannah is the CEO. So Hannah's our CEO.
So we'll just say you're co-founder.
We'll say
co-founder, Chief Experience Officer. So my goal.
Matthew, the husband of the founder and CEO.
Stephanie nailed it. Go ahead and say that again.
I said Matthew, the husband of the founder and CEO.
There you go.
Just giving Hannah some props.
Yeah, that's the truth. So thank you so much again. Look forward to chatting with you again, and I will bug you on the Slacks.
Thank you so much for being here, Matthew. Thanks.
All right, man. Bye-bye. So no, that was super awesome, and I look forward to having him on again. Or
the two of them. That would be fun.
And I think for listeners out there in the subscription box world, like these, like people aren't so out of reach. It's if you're respectful of their time and you reach out, you're gonna find people, and you can ask them for advice. You can drop them emails. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make is they don't think they're big, but a lot of those people like Matthew, I'd say like us, like a lot of companies out there, like subscription box companies, it actually feels good to like be able to help somebody avoid the mistakes and headaches that you made. So never be shy to
Matthew's done a good job of kind of paying it forward in the industry.
And honestly, it's a break for a lot of people. So, like we say at Bulu, like never be afraid to just pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone. You never know. That's how big things happen. So, awesome episode. Look forward to having him on again. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Hannah, CEO. We'll have her on. Maybe let's do that. Let's have them both on. Let's do that. All right. So until next time, I guess it's time we got to go get the kids. Let's pack it up.
Let's pack it up.